Welcome once again to the World Blockchain Forum on this blockchain video course. So if you would just like to introduce yourself and your position and the company you work for.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Eric Piscini. I'm the CEO of Citizens Reserve, and Citizen Reserve is a company building supply chain solutions on blockchain. Before being the CEO of Citizen Reserve, I was the global blockchain leader for Deloitte, and I left Deloitte 4 months ago now.
So tell us more about your platform and why, in your job description, and why you set that up.
So the platform is about supply chain. The platform is about building a new generation of supply chain solutions for large, medium, and small enterprise to benefit from the latest technologies, blockchain and others, to leverage that as a new way to engage and a new way to trade. And I think for us, the realization was, if you look at the supply chain market, today it's a $1.5 trillion market. And the potential for disruption is significant, but the potential for improvement is even bigger. And the projection is that market is going to go to 2.5 trillion within the next 5 years. And so when you look at this, you see the market being significantly better in the future and bigger in the future, and that's what we want to capture. And so supply chain on blockchain is very straightforward. At the end of the day, it's how do you trade better, faster, and cheaper between different participants. And we can go into some details if you want to, but that's pretty much the idea. And the idea is, today when you participate in a supply chain, you have many different challenges. One, you don't know where your orders or your invoices or the goods themselves, you don't know where they are. Lack of, number one. Number two, you have a lack of access to capital in the supply chain space. And when you see outages of components or any outages in the world, it's usually because down the road there is a supplier who doesn't have access to capital and cannot use money to actually create the goods that's needed for the next level down, right? So usually tier 3, tier 4 suppliers lack the capital to deliver to tier 2, tier 1, and in exchange, tier 1 suppliers cannot deliver to you as a consumer the latest smartphone, right? So that's one of the big challenges in supply chain. That's what we are trying to address as well. And then finally, you have some interesting challenges around the regulatory environment, whether it's privacy, whether it's reporting to different authorities around supply chain. And supply chain can be extremely strategic. If you think about oil, for example, that would be very strategic to know where the reserves are and who has those reserves. And that's also an aspect of the platform that we are working on. So huge market, significant capabilities that we can bring to that market, and significant improvement, not only in terms of the features we would deliver, but the number of people who can participate into the supply chain. So at the end of the day, we want to democratize access to supply chain. So that's the idea of the platform is supply chain as a service.
You've just touched on this touch now in terms of democratizing your space. So I was just wondering what's unique rather about your company over your competitors within whether that's with blockchain or not.
So I think you have many different ways to look at this. The first one I would say is the team that we have put together is very unique, because you have a mix of people coming from the blockchain space, coming from the supply chain space, and coming from what I would call the platform space. Right. So building a platform is very unique kind of expertise. Building blockchain solutions is very unique, and being an expert in supply chain is also very unique. And that's what we were able to do, is to bring the three things into one team. So today we are still a small team, 45 people, but at the end of the day, we have all the expertise we need internally. The second one is we have a reach into different industries that is very deep because of where we are from. Just for myself, I've been in Deloitte consulting for 11 years before joining the company, so I have a huge network that I can ping and contact to bring them onto the platform. Because when you think about blockchain solutions and any platform solutions, really, what you need is to create a consortium. You need to create a group of participants, organizations who can join the platform. And for that, you need a network. You need to be able to access and to reach. And we have this capability. I think the last point is the way we architect the solution is very unique. And what we are doing is we are really building an open source layer, what we call the core. SUKU core is the name of the layer. And that core provides you with the basic components that you need to run a supply chain platform. Once we deliver this, we let people, organizations, developers, and really anyone build applications and services on the top of that core layer. Think of it as an application store, the one you use on your smartphone today. It's a similar concept where people would build solutions, get rewarded when people use those solutions on our platform. And I think that the way to think about this is very unique among our competitors. Sometimes we refer at this platform as the Ethereum of supply chain, because we are building the foundation for every supply chain solution, every supply chain trading partners to run on top of it. So that's really the idea. It's very unique.
So why is blockchain technology so vital at a time like this?
Specifically for us as a...
Well, yeah, that and in broader terms as well.
I guess you can look at it from different point of view. You can look at it from the need to decentralize and democratize technology. And blockchain is a good enabler for that. You can look at it from a trust point of view. I mean, at the end of the day, blockchain is about trust. It's about how much can you trust your trading partners or customers to do the right thing versus trusting a third party for controlling that level of trust, right? So I think that's at the end of the day, that's where blockchain is critical. And you can look at it across different industries, and what I usually say is every transaction platform that we use today, whether it's supply chain, whether it's payment, whether it's banking, whether it's to take the tube here in London, we use a platform to transact, and that platform is either going to be replaced or improved by the blockchain technology, right? And so when you look at it this way, you say, well, blockchain can actually disrupt pretty much everything that we do, and I believe that it should. It's going to take time, but every transaction platform and fabric will be replaced or improved by the blockchain solution.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with the technology applied with what you use in terms of blockchain technology, is some of that bespoke, and can it be used by students who aspire to be developers themselves?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. The core foundation that I talked about earlier is going to be open source, so anyone will be able to build applications on the top of that core, whether you are a developer or a student, anyone, right? So that's very, very important to us, is to make sure that we have an open source platform for people to participate. However, we also want to make sure that we do the right thing from a business point of view. And we don't want crappy software to be running on the platform, because people will trust that software to run a very critical business process, i.e. supply chain. So we have some quality control and quality activities to make sure that the code that's going to be on the platform is actually good code. So we have a lot of different governance mechanisms for doing that. But yes, by default, it's going to be open. Yeah.
Smart contracts, how important are they to use in your business and other businesses within your sector?
Yeah. So extremely critical. Smart contracts are the foundation of the blockchain technology platform for us, so we use different versions of smart contracts, but it's also very critical from a business point of view, right? If you think about supply chain activities today, when you place an order, you don't want to actually pay the supplier until you have received that order and you are comfortable with what you just received, right? In order to do that, in a traditional world, you either have to trust the seller or you have to use a third party who's going to escrow the money until you're comfortable with the outcome. In a blockchain world, you can actually use a smart contract to escrow the money in waiting for you to provide feedback on whatever you ordered. So right there, smart contracts are going to be extremely critical for any supply chain platform. And I would argue, if you claim to be a supply chain solution on blockchain and you don't use smart contracts, something is missing in the picture. You have a lot of noise.
It'll pick up.
It'll pick up, yeah.
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 Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of. But this is going to pick up everything. It's going to ignore that and the music as well. So, in terms of blockchain, how sustainable will this be, and will it be able to run for many decades to come?
That's definitely the intent. We don't want to build something for the short term. We build something for the long term. Especially when you think about what's going to happen on that platform. When you start using a platform for supply chain purposes, you want that to be an investment that you make for the long term. You don't want that to run for a few weeks and move away and go somewhere else. The integration effort to bring your business into a new platform is significant, whether it's blockchain or not. So you want to make sure that at the end of the day, that platform is going to be around 10 years from now. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same platform. It's going to evolve significantly, obviously, but the platform that we are building is here to stay. The interesting notion when you think about blockchain companies, especially the one using a token like we do, is at the end of the day, we should be able to die as a company, and the platform will continue to operate and run because it's a decentralized platform. And it's very hard to understand because the traditional way of thinking is a platform is managed and owned by an organization. But here, the way you have to think about it and challenge yourself almost every day is, what if the company disappears tomorrow? Will the platform continue to run? And the answer better be yes.
Where do you think we are right now with regards to the blockchain space? Do you think we're still at level 1 or the ground floor at this point?
Well, I think it's an interesting question because it really depends on the industry, the use case you're talking about, even the technology space you're talking about. You have some new interesting projects in the blockchain space that are completely new but super interesting. And so they are at maturity level 0, but they might become very, very important in the future. And you have some very mature solutions, like Bitcoin is 10-year-old, right? It's working, it's not working the way we would like it to work because we need more than that, but it really depends on where you're looking for. In the supply chain space, I would say the maturity is pretty low today, but growing pretty quickly too. Because you have many different solutions, many different companies working on this topic today, and so the maturity is going to grow up quite rapidly. The interesting point too is, I think the maturity is going to go up mostly for small and medium businesses before it goes to the large organizations. And one of the reasons for that is usually those small and medium businesses are more open to disruptive innovation than the large ones. If you think of a large organization today, they have to accept the idea of blockchain, the idea of a token to fuel the blockchain platform, the idea of a massive integration effort to bring that solution into their environment. That's a lot of barriers for them. If you think about a small and medium business, those barriers don't exist as much or don't exist at all because, for example, you're a small business here in London and you don't have any solution. You just run your business on a spreadsheet. If tomorrow you have a platform that gives you forecasting, planning, and a lot of different features that you don't have today, for a fraction of the cost that you have, you would definitely use a platform like this. Yeah. So the adoption is going to be higher at the low end of the spectrum than the high end of the spectrum. True across the board, not only in supply chain, I would say.
Absolutely. Can you now share your thoughts about cryptocurrencies and where you think, where Bitcoin's going in terms of pricing, in your opinion, of course, but also the long-term future of them, because there's obviously a lot of ICOs and a lot of altcoins that are basically fly-by-night. They burn out as quickly as they come and what have you. So I'd like to get your opinions on that.
Yeah. So again, a short question, but a long answer probably. But I would look at it in 3 different buckets. One is Bitcoin specifically, because to me Bitcoin is the next gold. And so when you think of it this way, then the valuation of Bitcoin is everybody's guess, but it's higher than it is today, in my opinion, right? But that's a very unique cryptocurrency because I think it's going to act like gold. It's going to act like a reserve currency or store of value for a lot of people in the world. So Bitcoin is unique. Then you have the I would say the next tier of cryptocurrencies who are really focusing on becoming a utility from a platform point of view. And they are, I think, some of them are going to be very successful and become the next Amazon, the next eBay, and the next big platform in the space. So I'm very bullish about them as platforms. I'm not sure I'm very bullish about the currency fueling those platforms. And here we are talking about token economics, and it's very complex, but the idea of having a token to fuel a platform is not always a good idea. So I would say a bunch of those projects are going to still exist, but without the need of a currency, right? If that makes sense. Yeah. And then you have the last section, which is the scam ICO, and you know what I think about that.
What advice can you give for those that want to enter your sector using this technology, and even to our students watching this?
What I would say, probably 2 or 3 things. The first one is you have to understand the technology. You have to spend the time, you have to invest time into understanding what Bitcoin is, the beginning of it, what blockchain is not, is very important as well. And you have to understand where where the technology makes sense versus not from a use case point of view. I'm losing my voice. So I think you have to educate yourself and spend the time. I think number 2 is you have to try it. So I would invite students especially to try to code anything. Code with any technology, anything that you like. Some of that technology is completely free, completely open source, a lot of it actually. So you can really learn by doing. I think that's very important. And then the third piece is think of it not only from a technology point of view, but also from a business point of view. And think of it as, okay, now you understand the technology. What does it take to bring that technology to a market? What does it take to make it real for someone, whether it's a consumer or an organization or a non-profit organization? How do you translate that value of technology into business value? And that's a very complex problem because we would have the answer to those questions, we would not be here, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a very important piece of the equation. So education, technology, try and translate that into business value.
On a personal level, are there coins that you take preference to over others?
I would tend to focus on the coins that are very unique in terms of what they are planning on delivering. And you have, again, different categories of coin we talked about earlier, but I like the coins which are focused on creating business value, right? Not consumer value, but business value. And my background has been in business for quite some time, and it's easy to find a consumer value, but it's easy to create a scam in consumer space. In the business space, it's very hard to create scams because you are going to be called out very quickly. And you won't go anywhere. And so I think I'm focusing more on the business aspect of that. So I'm looking at what I would call the business coins. The coins are focusing on creating business value, including mine in our company. But that's where I would spend more time. So I like Bitcoin because of the stored value aspect of it. I like Ether because of the very unique characteristic, but I'm not sure about the long-term value of Ether. I like Ethereum a lot. I'm not sure about the Ether itself. And then I like the business coins.
Sticking with Bitcoin, do you view it as a currency or rather just something to, that's programmable or something on the blockchain in terms of ICO, if you see what I mean?
Yeah. Bitcoin is a currency if you want to look at it this way.
Commodity for that matter.
Yeah, so I'm not a regulator, right? Because even in the US, for example, where I live, the regulators are arguing about what is Bitcoin, right? A payment, a commodity, a security, what is it? At the end of the day, to me, Bitcoin is a store of value. So you store value into Bitcoin the same way you store value into gold. and you do that for many different reasons, because you want to diversify your portfolio, because your economy is in trouble and you have high inflation, or because of any other reason, right? And I think Bitcoin is that new store of value mechanism. The interesting thing about Bitcoin is no one controls the supply of Bitcoin, same way as gold actually, and that's why I think there is a significant value compared to the other coins.
So to wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, especially for the students, I would say learn, be critical about the technology, understand what the technology cannot do. That's very important, very, very important, because you don't want to be representing the industry by providing false expectations, right? And then the last point I would say is bring something valuable to a billion people. We keep talking about the X prize, for example, right? Which is bring something of value to a billion people, and I think blockchain gives you that opportunity to bring something very unique to a billion people on this planet. And so if you have an idea, do it, please do it.
Very well put. Thank you so much for your time and your advice. It's going to help billions of people out there watching, potentially. Thank you very much.
Thank you.